parks along the Emerald Necklace were meant to be a natural and social breathing room where people of different backgrounds could mingle and feel at ease. That's the backdrop for an event happening at Jamaica Pond, September 18th, right around sunset, put together by Hoopla Productions. It's called Finding Home, Immigrant Stories and Music from Boston and Beyond. Joining us are the group's director, Mindy Fried, and the event's artistic director and lead musician, Stan Strickland. I'd like to thank you both for being with us.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
I want to start with Mindy. You're known to a lot of our viewers as one of the masterminds behind JP Porch Fest. So why an event like this out by Jamaica Pond, pretty much around the time of the equinox in Jamaica Plain? Why did you pick this date for this kind of thing?
Well, first, I just want to say that Marie Gitman and I started Porch Fest in 2014, and we happily passed the reins of Porch Fest over to an extraordinarily talented group of people from a nonprofit called Dunamis. So they have been the lead charge on Porch Fest this year. And what that's done is it's freed us up to think more creatively about what we actually wanted to do, where our passions lie. And we had this idea about something about music and water for a long time. And we are JP residents and we spend an awful lot of time at the pond. And we have a deep concern about the divisiveness in this country that's fueled by hatred against this quote unquote other. And much of that hatred is really targeting immigrants and people of color. And, you know, in some level, it's based on a lack of understanding and compassion and a lack of exposure. And so we feel strongly that the power of the arts and the power of finding home is to shine a light on the diverse stories of immigrants and indigenous people and people who are forced to come to this country, enslaved people who are forced to come to this country. So using, you know, dance and music and words, just to engage people, engage them emotionally, to open their hearts, and hopefully to build some compassion and understanding.
Stan, you know, in the shortest possible description, I think of you as a jazz artist, but on the other hand, to go digging a little deeper, you remind me of how jazz pulls many influences together and then goes on to influence many other kinds of things. How does that fit into your career?
I've had a chance to work with a lot of musicians, artists, and jazz is a funny word, you know, if you think about the origins of it. But the essence of it is a synthesis of music from all around the world, because we know American music is a synthesis of African and European music. And what many people don't realize is that Native American vocal music has a strong influence on blues and subsequently jazz and rock and roll and so forth. So my experience in all of these fields has sort of given me a world view that we are more connected than we realize. And as an artist, I feel a responsibility to help people become more conscious of that.
Mindy, how is that reflected in the lineup for this event?
Well, we've given an awful lot of thought and working closely with Stan and some other folks, including Vincent Siders as an actor and director, thought about, you know, the kinds of folks that we could pull together. So Stan had a roster of remarkably talented musicians who he has brought on board. That's very exciting, and has helped us think about the storytellers. But we wanted people to represent variety of experiences from around the world. And so we wanted some age diversity, we wanted cultural and geographic diversity. And so we spent a lot of time, you know, talking with different folks. And I think that, you know, as Sam was saying, the lineup is extraordinary. You know, yesterday we had a run through. People weren't actually performing their pieces, but we were just finding out what everybody's doing as collectively. And we were walking through the entire schedule, and people kind of walked away blown away by what it's going to be.
Stan, what's this going to be like? Because this isn't just by somebody sitting in a chair playing an instrument and someone, you know, vocalizing or telling a story verbally as a spoken word art. You get some dance in this mix as well.
It's dance, and it's also nature. The pond, Jamaica Pond, I think it's a beautiful sight. I think you talked about the emerald necklace and the magic of that, and the whole idea of bringing people together. So being in that spot is something significant right there. And then the elements of movement, uh, poetic motion, it's what sometimes I like to call dance, and storytelling and live music. There's some things that we want to keep a little bit of a surprise, or I don't want to say everything,
Thank
but
you.
just, but just that this notion of telling a story about what it was like to leave someplace that you knew and to take a journey that is full of uncertainty and danger, and then to come to some place where you don't know how you're going to be received. The humanness of that. And I think that we all feel that in some kind of way. One of the things that I think a lot about is what is this vulnerability that human beings, Homo sapiens, have that makes us vulnerable to disinformation, to having, hard-heartedness toward each other. And how can we help each other get beyond that? Because we are all subject to that. So we have to realize that we're really in this together. And one of the best ways is through making music, making dance together, and telling our stories.
Mindy, I think it might be good to say something about Maestra Isaura Oliveira. She practically stole the show at the Roxbury Unity Day Parade.
Well, we worked together a couple of times, most recently, and the Roxbury JP line with a healing movement class in 100-degree heat. It was one of those days. And this was for people, women who work in social service. And, I work with emotionally disturbed children myself. And I believe that it's not only the children that we need to work with, it's the people who work with them. And so part of what she does is bring her knowledge. I mean, it's really skill and knowledge of how you can use song, ritual, and movement to do healing. And one good thing something I'm really excited about is how science is discovering all these things that indigenous people around the world have known. I call it traditional technologies. The fact that there's a knowing that exists throughout our being, our bodies, our mind, and our spirit. And she has that knowledge of how to conjure up some of that energy for healing.
Mindy, maybe another kind of healing, in a way, is what it's like to be there for an event like this. I know the pond is picturesque, but I'm thinking a little bit of Porch Fest, because I remember that feeling walking down this street and that street and seeing this kind of person and that kind of person, and you feeling like anything could happen, and this is so cool.
Yeah, well, I think that this is different from Porch Fest in a sense that we are telling individual stories, but a collective story. And so we've been working quite hard at trying to create a flow and an arc to this overall show, essentially, which acknowledges, as Stan was saying, the sort of the challenges that people face in this process of leaving their homeland for whatever reason, and arriving here. And partly why we call it Finding Home is that we feel that it's finding is a process. We didn't call it found home or home found, that we're all still searching for that. And for folks who have come from someplace else in particular, or that their families have come from someplace else, there's still a sense of searching. And I mean, I know, for me, this is very personal. My grandmother came to this country from Hungary by herself at age 13, speaking no English. and stayed with cousins in New York for a little bit. And then she went back on a boat and got her parents and, brought them back and played this role that many immigrant children play of being the kind of the nexus, the connection to American culture. And, I think in our family, as in many, I've seen people struggle with figuring out how, if and how they fit in and how to hold on to the importance of their own culture and language while still being able to navigate the travails of American culture and society. So, so I think that, I think that this is going to be a kind of a manifestation of that for everybody in their own way. I just want to mention some of the performers because some of them will be recognizable. Obviously, Stan is somebody who a lot of people have seen, and we're really excited that Stan is playing such a major role in Finding Home. We also have dancers from the Jean Apollon Expressions Company. So that'll be kind of fun. We've got Jean and his son Cedric, who's 7, about to be 8. And BC, and I'm not sure if I'm going to say his last name correctly, but Xoltenyi, who's from South Africa, and he'll be dancing and also telling his story. And we have people from Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico and Brazil and China and South Africa, and I'm sure I'm leaving some out, but from all over the world. So I think it'll be powerful to see that all together.
And of course, because there's so many more details, people need to go online to find them
Yes.
and make sure they know what time and where. A little bit about that, Mindy?
Yeah, sure. So the date is this Saturday, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Jamaica Pond Boathouse. And we have a rain date for Sunday, same time. Let's just hope that we don't have to go there. But yeah, we welcome everybody.
I'd like to thank you both very much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, Chris. Pleasure.
Stan Strickland and Mindy Fried.